Welcome in. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Tuesday, wherever you may be across this great country or this great land. We are rolling through everything here in the Outkick studios. And I think what now becomes by far the biggest story in the NFL over the ensuing days, weeks, and potentially months is what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers and also what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. And what's interesting is I want to unpack and discuss in pretty good detail, part of the time with my lawyer hat on, where I think these stories are going and why they matter so much in the larger scale here. So let's start with the idea of Aaron Rodgers. I always like to go, as those of you out there who listen to the show regularly know, I like to go to the gambling markets and see what they are telling us about potential destinations. FanDuel.com/Clay. I can go there and I can look at them. And by the way, we're scheduled to anyway, to Todd Furman in the second hour. So I'll have him break down this even better than I can do. But what the gambling markets are telling us is that Aaron Rodgers is potentially headed to Denver. Because the gambling markets have taken the Denver Broncos from around a 65 or 66 to 1 Super Bowl contender. That means for every $1, you would get back 66. They were a big underdog, not considered one of the best teams in the NFL by far. In fact, considered one of the worst teams in the NFL. To, as rumors have continued to circle that Aaron Rodgers is potentially headed to the Denver Broncos, that number is now around 20 to 1 at a variety of different places. Why have those numbers moved? And why have we also saw the Green Bay Packers start to back up as a favorite as well in the Super Bowl marketplace? It's because there is a lot of smoke that Aaron Rodgers is going to go to Denver. And that's where I believe he is going to take his first snap of the 2021 season. I believe Aaron Rodgers will play. I think the Broncos will work out a trade with the Packers to ship Aaron Rodgers from the NFC to the AFC based on what I have heard, based on reading the markets. I think Aaron Rodgers to the Denver Broncos is going to happen. Other clear indication that it might happen was what happened on Thursday. Sitting at the 9th spot, the Denver Broncos had the opportunity to draft Justin Fields or Mac Jones, and instead they decided to opt for a corner. That's despite the fact that the only two real quarterbacks on their roster right now are Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater. And neither of those guys makes very much money. I think combined, they are going to cost the Broncos around $5 million at the quarterback position. That is nothing in the grand scheme of things. There is not a single team that has a quarterback duo that costs less than that in the entirety of the NFL. So the Broncos had a really clear opportunity to go get Justin Fields at 9, to go get Mac Jones at 9, to decide to draft their quarterback of the future, and they passed on it. Why would they pass on it, given how good those options were and how many rumors there were out there that Justin Fields in particular was a guy that the Broncos wanted? Instead, they let the Bears trade up at 11 and go get Justin Fields, and they themselves passed on Fields and on Mac Jones. The only real reason to me that is rational for the Broncos to have made that choice. So I guess you could say they didn't like either quarterback. That's always a possibility. But it's because I think they believe they are going to get Aaron Rodgers signed, sealed, and delivered in Denver. And that is what the gambling markets are telling us right now. So Aaron Rodgers goes public on Thursday, says, I want out. The gambling markets continue to move in a direction that discusses and debates would say, instead of me just sitting here talking to you about it, the dollars are coming in on the Broncos in a way that reflects that Aaron Rodgers is likely to be going there, and the dollars are coming off of the Green Bay Packers in a way that suggests that Aaron Rodgers may be moving from there. Now, the gambling markets can fluctuate. There certainly are still a lot of details to be worked out, but I think that's the number one story that we are being told right now in the NFL in the offseason. Okay, that's the Aaron Rodgers side of the equation. Here's the other biggest story in the NFL that's going on, Deshaun Watson. And I keep talking about this story because, frankly, the silence is stunning to me. 22 different women have accused Deshaun Watson of sexual assault. The Houston Texans made the decision with their first pick in the draft. Remember, they didn't have a first or a second round guy to go get Davis Mills out of Stanford. Why did they do that? Because they are desperate, I believe, to try and figure out their quarterback position. Right now, there aren't a lot of available players that are proven, and theoretically, the Houston Texans are now Tyrod Taylor's team with Davis Mills potentially able to challenge him. That is the weakest, even weaker than the Broncos, who with Drew Lock and with Teddy Bridgewater. To me, by far, the Houston Texans now have a historically weak quarterback duo in the history of the NFL. Been a lot of bad quarterback duos, but Tyrod Taylor, not very good. And so far, we have no idea what Davis Mills is going to be capable of. So a historically bad duo, and the Texans didn't have a lot of other options out there among quarterbacks. They don't want to give up any more picks. So reading the tea leaves, it was not surprising that they went in and grabbed Davis Mills. But what that pick tells me is that Deshaun Watson is done in Houston. Now, it remains to be seen whether Deshaun Watson has any substantial trade value. But I think the Texans, by taking Davis Mills, are effectively letting everybody know, hey, we're done with Deshaun Watson. We don't think he's going to play in 2021. We are finished with our future franchise quarterback now. And I think, as I've been saying for a long time, there are legitimate questions about how long Deshaun Watson is going to be out, particularly as it pertains to whether or not there might be criminal charges brought in Houston against him, which would add even more difficulty to this situation. But where I see these two stories connected is you had quarterbacks who went public and demanded trades. Now, there's a big difference to me between Aaron Rodgers at the age of 37 being fed up with 9 of the 10 first-round picks of the Broncos over the last decade being defensive players, and also the only first-round pick who's been an offensive player being Jordan Love. So I don't, and Deshaun Watson was just upset over the way that the Bill O'Brien basically managed the Houston Texans. But remember, when Bill O'Brien, for instance, went to go get Laramie Tunsil and gave up all the assets that he did, he wasn't anticipating that the Houston Texans were going to fall to 4-12. He thought Laramie Tunsil was going to be able to protect the blind side of his franchise quarterback. That move was made with Deshaun Watson in mind. So that shouldn't really be something that Deshaun Watson is angry about, because the 4-12 Texans ending up having to trade a third overall pick, nobody would have really anticipated, certainly not Bill O'Brien, that the Texans would fall flat on their face there with a healthy Deshaun Watson. In fact, if you want to spin forward a negative narrative, it would be, hey, Deshaun Watson, you're angry about going 4-12, but with the money that the Texans have committed to you, that's the reason why they commit that money to you, so that 4-12 never becomes a reality as long as you're healthy. You played in all 16 games and the team still stunk. That is partly your fault because, again, the Laramie Tunsil trade was about trying to protect you. So I think the Texans are letting it be known that they're done with Deshaun Watson. I tossed this out a bit yesterday, but I want to expand upon it right now. If I were the Houston Texans, I would be on the phone right now with the Green Bay Packers saying, hey, we'll trade you Deshaun Watson for Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't know that Aaron Rodgers would agree to play with Houston. I think certainly he wants to win a championship, and it doesn't feel like the Houston Texans are very close to being able to contend for a championship, so I think Aaron Rodgers would shoot it down. But the reason why I would make that call is you don't know exactly what the Packers might be willing to say as it pertains to Deshaun Watson. It's a major risk, and I think a lot of owners would run in the opposite direction to even think about grabbing Deshaun Watson. But it's a conversation that I think should happen. And there aren't that many teams that are desperate enough to make a deal like that. I'll give you another one. A part of me, and I know the Steelers are an expertly run franchise, but the Steelers right now have an aging quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. They have got Mason Rudolph, who it appears they're going to give a chance to be the guy to replace Ben Roethlisberger based on the contract that they've signed him. Mike Tomlin does an incredible job either getting guys to buy in or shipping them out of town. Le'Veon Bell didn't buy in. He's basically been unheard of since. To his credit, he found a way, Antonio Brown did, to win a Super Bowl ring, but the star-crossed tenure of Antonio Brown after he left Pittsburgh suggests that Mike Tomlin is a great coach at not only being able to sort of motivate his guys, but also at keeping all sorts of dissension in-house. So a part of me, if I were the Pittsburgh Steelers, would be potentially inquiring about the idea of Deshaun Watson. Again, because in a year, you're going to have to move on from Ben Roethlisberger maybe. Maybe you take the risk on Deshaun Watson right now. Same thing with Washington. Ron Rivera's team is stacked on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're actually going to be one of the surprises. It wouldn't stun me if they won the NFC East this year if Ryan Fitzpatrick can just play decent and consistent, which has always been sort of the challenge for him. Fitzmagic can go up and down in a big way, game to game, certainly month to month. There's not a lot of consistency to it. But if he could play well, they're a contender. If he doesn't play well, if I'm Washington, I'm getting on the phone with Houston. Because I think, based on drafting Davis Mills, that the Texans would love to wash their hands of Deshaun Watson. And I think the price that Deshaun Watson would cost right now is so far down the flow chart that if you have, this is honestly one of those rare situations where you need a great legal team. Like we talked yesterday about Dr. David Chow and the importance of being able to have a good medical advising team to look over all the details as it pertains to whether or not a guy's going to be able to be healthy or not in the season, whether he's going to have a long career as a part of the draft. This is where you need like a team of high-end legal advisors and say, okay, what's the worst case scenario for Deshaun Watson? I'll tell you. The worst case scenario is he never plays another football game. Best case scenario, he settles all 22 of these civil charges, never any criminal charges filed. He gets suspended for 6 or 8 games as a result, and he's able to play even by the end of the 2021 season. Regardless, the Texans are willing to move on from him. If you were willing to give up a 2022 first-round draft pick, even if you don't know where that pick is going to be, I think it's possible that you could get Deshaun Watson. If I'm the Steelers, if I am the Washington football team, those are calls that I am making right now. And while I think Aaron Rodgers is likely going to Denver, I also think that's a call that the Denver Broncos should make. Because even if you have to deal with that risk, I think what you could say as an owner or a GM is, look, we're not, here's what I would say, right? If I had to go talk to the media, we're not making any determination about the legal issues that are facing Deshaun Watson. We are making a determination based on the talent on the football field that we have seen from Deshaun Watson. We believe he's going to resolve his legal issues with the NFL, with the civil courts, everyone involved here at some point in the near future. And when that happens, if he is then eligible to go to the football field, we think we are getting a heck of a football player who has learned a lot about the dangers in the way that he has to carry himself in the future. And we thought, based on conversations with Deshaun Watson and his representatives, that putting him in an entirely new city and an entirely new environment was the right choice. I understand you're going to criticize our decision because of the off-the-field related incidents, but that is my thought process, that we are getting a good player who is going to be a better person than he has been in the past in the years ahead. He's still very young, and I believe we are getting him at a cost where the benefit outweighs the risk. And so that's what I would say if I were the GM. If I were an owner, I would be willing to take the slings and arrows of criticism that would come from going to get Deshaun Watson. And I would take the risk that he might be out for a substantial period of time, because I think the payoff in the event that he is able to play again is potentially worth it in a substantial way. So I floated the idea of the Packers having an interest in Deshaun Watson because of the issue with Aaron Rodgers. I haven't heard anybody else talking about it. I would say the Denver Broncos, who I think is going to get I think are going to get Aaron Rodgers based on the odds markets. I would also make a call about Deshaun Watson. And just looking at the larger scope and universe out there, Washington and Pittsburgh are going to be in the quarterback market by next year. You can wait, but if Deshaun Watson resolves all these issues, his cost is going to go up. You lose some of your negotiating leverage. Right now, the weekend after, the Houston Texans have gone and drafted Davis Mills. I don't know how they could give you any clearer of a sign that they want out of the Deshaun Watson business than what they are saying right now. And I think now would be the time to potentially pounce and consider, if you have good legal experts and if they are analyzing this case in a smart way, potentially making the move on from Deshaun Watson and trying to get him for a relatively reduced price. Now, the downside there remains, it's possible that Deshaun Watson never plays another football game. It's possible that he is never out there again, ever on the field. And I think that is the danger, but I think the risk-reward now is potentially out there for somebody who's willing to take that risk and who's willing to take the criticism that comes with taking that risk.